All right. What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. James here from jamesdforsythe.com. So coming in with yet another book review. This one is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Here's the cover, at least my copy. Now this one I know for sure has multiple different cover arts and a whole bunch of other stuff. It seems to be kind of a life classic in a way. But I got this one particularly because I just like how the cover feels. But besides that, so one thing and kind of why I think it's important to read this book specifically is how applicable it is to, it seems like just life and conflict in general, right? There's so many kind of universal principles. Now, granted, it's written for like specifically like war and that type of military strategy, but it's especially while reading it, it's pretty easy to see how it applies to various other aspects of life, like most notably like business and such. And actually, in this specific copy that I got, it has a little, I guess, a post word. I don't know, the opposite of a foreword. It's at the end, basically about how this applies to business and other areas and sort of thing. And it gives examples and that sort of thing. But so basically, Sun Tzu, he's also known as Sun Wu, I guess. Kind of directly translates to Master Sun. Not a huge kind of, I'm not that too familiar with, say, like Chinese history in that respect, but again, that's not why I read the book. Just kind of a putting things in perspective sort of comment. But apparently he died in 496 BC or so, so kind of that's the area we're talking about. And from the beginning of the book, it goes into kind of an intro, who he was, sort of like his life and that sort of thing. Basically general and such, during a time where China was in extreme turmoil, right? Kind of the same as Japan, and I don't know if it's relatively the same period, but similar to the Book of Five Rings with, was it Miyamoto? I already forgot how to pronounce the name. Anyways, that book. But anyways, so basically, this is kind of deemed, The Art of War is to be possibly the earliest known treatise of war and military science. And again, it was published around 500 BC-ish, just rough areas and in China, right? And so one of the biggest things and biggest takeaways that from this book is there's kind of 6 principles that seem to be applicable to business and life, right? That are kind of universal and stated in various ways throughout the book, right? So one of those being like win without fighting, right? Basically the whole concept of being able to strategize your way out of something, because if you destroy it in general, then there's not, like if you're trying to conquer something, whether it be, and we'll use a business example, like if you're trying to conquer or take over a competitor in your market, right? Well, if you completely destroy them and you say you buy them out or whatever happens to be, specifically, I guess, especially if you're trying to buy them out or to take over them, then if you destroy them, then when you do take them over, there's nothing left, right? It kind of defeats the purpose. So win without actually fighting, right? So achieve the objective without destroying the objective itself or whatever it's about, right? And then the whole avoid the strength and not weak and attack the weaknesses. So again, that's more of a, I'll say, well known, at least to me. That's what it seems to be, to where you want to attack your opponent's weaknesses and not the strengths. Just seems like common sense at that point. Third would be like use deception or foreknowledge. So basically this whole concept of having like an information war. So like if you're, we'll say, what I mean by information war is the whole kind of concept of like knowing your opponent. And he goes into a few things, and obviously it's going to be a rough citing without trying to find the page for you guys in general. But the whole concept of like, it's like if you know yourself and you know your opponent, victory is basically inevitable, right? If you don't know yourself but you know your opponent, it's like there's maybe a possibility, it's basically left up to chance. Same if that's reversed. And if you don't know either, then it's pointless to begin with. But also just looking ahead. So even especially with respect to foreknowledge in the realm of, like, we'll say investing, right? To where you're kind of looking at more of, this is the studying kind of what's going on right now, real-time events, that sort of thing, kind of being able to, with knowledge of history in retrospect, kind of roughly project that into the future, to where you have, obviously, the world and life is just a game of probabilities in my opinion, and so basically nothing's 100% certain, but you have to be able to know that, and this goes back on the concept of the information war and that sort of thing, to where you're able to kind of assign at least relative probabilities to certain events, and that's what you say allocate your capital for. I don't know why I can't talk this morning. I'm apparently recording these too early in the morning, but that is how you allocate your capital for. Anyways, next would be prepare and act with speed. So the whole, like, move swiftly to overcome resistance. That one, again, I think is more self-explanatory. You don't want to basically be caught up and lose your opportunity. They don't necessarily, I mean, yes, you can make your own opportunities, and that's cool, the kind of realm of strategy in a way, but you also, when provided with one, you need to act upon it, right? And so this kind of plays a little bit on to the fifth one, which is, like, have the enemy come to you, right? And this, I think the most accurate kind of manifestation of this in the realm of, say, business or investing would be something I heard from the investor Jim Rogers. The whole, like, concept of basically just waiting until a pile of money shows up in the corner and then going and picking it up, right? And so you don't have to chase in like a dog after every little thing, right? You might just run yourself ragged, and the best opportunities in life basically happen from being knowledgeable. And this, I can see, is how it kind of plays into the idea of foreknowledge, but understanding the dynamics enough to where you can kind of see where that pile of cash is going to show up, so you can kind of maneuver yourself and your situation in such a way that you're able to take advantage of that, right, for whatever purpose you have, right? And then lastly is kind of the concept of character-based leadership, and that's really like the difference between, like, commanding and demanding, I guess, respect in a way that you specifically see with, like, leaders and stuff. It's like, just because someone is above you in your job or whatever corporate structure, whatever it happens to be, and basically the simple fact that they are of, I guess, higher rank is a good way to think about it. Just because they're a higher rank than you in whatever your structure is, if they use that alone to demand your respect, then basically you're just following them after or because of it's obligatory for you, right? Which kind of, in my opinion, leads to very loose and a troubled dynamic between the two, or in the business in general, whatever happens to be, right? Whereas on the opposite, to where if you command respect, right, it's because you're basically the people who follow you because of your character, because of who you are, and that sort of thing. These are the types of people that, at least from what I've noticed, that it's like, you know, they don't necessarily want to be leaders, but it's whatever group they happen to be in, these are the types of people that basically the entire group as a whole will follow them regardless of rank, even if there's nothing, right? There's no actual structure, there's no nothing, it's just they just want to follow that person because of who they are, because of what they do, they lead by example, that sort of thing, right? And kind of to conclude, an all-encompassing concept, I guess, of that I really noticed from this book was kind of the whole victories in the nuance, and basically the application of situational awareness. So there is a lot of little things throughout the book that I've noticed, specifically go to the table of contents to kind of look at it more in general, but like looking at specific situations, so paying attention to, say, like, as he says, like the battlefield in a way, and kind of looking at the terrain. What is it? What's the best way to move about it? Is this a great place to do this battle? Whatever it is, being able to maneuver yourself within a given situation to your best advantage, right? And being aware of what that situation entails, and if basically having the wisdom and the, I guess, wherewithal to put yourself in the greatest advantage, and if you can't, then to be able to do it in another day in a different situation, right? So I don't say run away, but to basically be able to hold back and until a more advantageous position kind of arises, right? Or be able to force that advantageous position in general. At least that's kind of my thoughts exactly. Then, like, he gives different situations, the uses of spies. I mean, like, there's a lot of nuance in this, I've noticed from looking at it. It gives like specific situations in which it'd be more beneficial to do certain things, and how in other situations those actions are actually disadvantageous for you in general. So, but overall, I mean, I enjoyed reading it. It's not too long of a book. This one is only about 160 pages or so. I don't know if there's like longer versions or if this is like a condensed version or what. But either way, it comes in like little, I guess, phrases. I don't know how to put it. Like, there's like 13 books, and each one has like these little numbered phrases and stuff, where you got different, like, kind of like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations in a way. But anyways, I'm gonna leave this one here. So, oh, and I misspoke earlier. I think I said 13 books, 13 chapters. I don't know why I'm having brain farts this morning, but regardless. Anyways, I'm going to leave this one here. So I hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one.